talking with the president of Slang Worldwide, Mr. Chris Driessen, who joins us on the Friday of Thanksgiving in the U.S. Thanks for taking the time. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Chad. Thanks for having me. I'm still kind of letting my tryptophan coma wear off from all the good food yesterday, but I took a look and you can see behind me, I'm a Cowboys fan, which is dark days this year.
Oh man, was it the turkey that put you to sleep or that second half of the Cowboys game yesterday?
It's interesting. My wife actually made fun of me because I slept through about most of the first half, and she said, well, that was the only time there was something good happening for them, so you missed it. I woke up and they just got annihilated.
Poor Jerry in Jerry's world. I think there was other places he wanted to be yesterday, but oh man, big struggles for the Cowboys. But what's not struggling, obviously, and the reason why we have you on is the U.S. cannabis landscape. And wow, has the industry ever heated up since the last time that we connected? I looked at your share price specifically over the 30 days. The chart looks incredible. The share price has more than doubled. So big indication, obviously, that was what happened in the U.S. election. The industry is heating up. So what can current, I guess, shareholders and potential new shareholders look at you specifically at the opportunity that's at hand? Because we all know there's a lot of, great stories out there in cannabis, but what can they get excited about your story specifically?
Yeah, it's a handful of things. People are realizing that, hey, all the things we've talked about for a long time, closing these acquisitions, becoming a plant-touching company, advancing into new markets with our capital light model, that those things are not only coming to fruition, but there's tangible results that you can point to that say, hey, that's what's up. Whether it's our partner with Trulieve now moving into Massachusetts, whether us re-engaging and soon to be going back into the California market, Gage in Michigan. Not only that, we're having great success in our core markets. Colorado and Oregon are having some record months. You saw that Q3. We pre-announced a couple of little nuggets, and we've got our Q3 earnings call coming up on Monday, which we're very excited to have. So people are just coming to the realization that, hey, wait a second, maybe I'd written this company off, or maybe I didn't fully understand the story, or maybe I just frankly didn't believe the story. And we're out there proving those people wrong. And then, of course, as you mentioned, you've got these other headwinds that are happening out there in the world, whether it was the U.S. election, that are just causing a lot more excitement around the sector as a whole. So we're excited to be taking part in that.
Well, you look at the excitement of the industry. Let's face it, the last 18 months has been a roller coaster ride, obviously, for this industry. But the one thing I've noticed when reading online and speaking to a lot of people is that you specifically have a very dedicated group of investors that have stuck with you through this time for a number of different reasons. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's a few different things. One, we have great relationships with some of these folks. It's people that we talk to absolutely all the time, keep very close to them as far as what's happening with the company. And they've always seen the vision since before Slang was even a glimmer in some folks' eye. When we started coming up with what the business model for this company was going to be, the first thing that jumped out at people was it's really unique. You're not really an MSO, but you're in all these places. You're not vertically integrated, but sort of, and originally that was a bit of our Achilles heel because people simply just didn't understand the story because we don't have a lot of good comps. And so when people don't understand something, obviously they tend to shy away from it. But as these acquisitions close, as the story becomes more and more clear, and we're very clearly a CPG brand story, and when you see us show up in state after state after state on leaderboard after leaderboard after leaderboard, starts to make a little more sense. And so there's no doubt that there's been ups and downs, particularly over the last 18 months, but we're very fortunate to have the shareholder base that we have. And, really excited of how that's grown, particularly of late, as more and more people start to realize what's happening behind the curtain with us.
Well, you talk about, a unique company and MSOs, and you made some big headlines, to say the least, back in September with your partnership agreement with Trulieve, which that was, let's face it, that's big news. So, on paper, this makes like a great sense for obviously Slang to partner with arguably the, biggest cannabis company in the world. But why do you think it also made sense for Trulieve to partner with Slang?
Well, a few different reasons. We've enjoyed great success with them, obviously, down in the Florida market. They're the 800-pound gorilla down there, still are. They keep being told that, hey, there's competition coming in, this, that, and the other, and all they do is put up numbers and perform.
Yeah.
So the scoreboard doesn't lie in Florida. What's
No.
really unique for us in Massachusetts with that opportunity is Florida, as you know, is vertically integrated. So you
Yep.
can open up your own stores, you got to supply your own stores, and that's really about it. Well, where we really shine as a company is our ability to demonstrate success in the wholesale market. So when they move into Massachusetts, they've got a first-class facility that's being finalized there, and they're going to have the opportunity to wholesale into that market, which really leverages what we do best. So you get to take some of the best known and best selling brands in cannabis into the Massachusetts market, and it really just kind of allows us to do what we do really well, and that's move product through the wholesale market.
So what kind of, I guess, upside, like as they continue to expand and branch out from the state of Florida into Massachusetts, what can shareholders read into that? How does that benefit Slang?
Yeah, our partnership with them, obviously we generate revenue a couple of different ways. But what it really leverages is our ability to move product through that market. So some people may not realize that we've got an inside sales team here in Denver
Yep.
that's calling, setting up appointments, driving awareness, driving engagement. We've also got staff that'll be on the ground there as well, all helping them enhance their own sales for what they're doing for themselves. And obviously they get to bolt on our brands, which is really just kind of gas on the fire. So the reason we've worked so well together is we both know who we are. We have aligned visions. We are a CPG brand and wholesale company. Those guys are tremendous operators. They've got great infrastructure. They build great facilities, good access to capital. They just execute is the bottom line. And what they're really good at and what we're really good at mesh really well together.
Is this an expectation that shareholders can expect, meaning that forming relationships with MSOs within the space in the US, like in addition to Trulieve, could we potentially see partnerships with some of the other big players as they start to obviously carve up the majority of the market share across the US, meaning GTI and Cureleaf and Cresco? But are those some of the things that shareholders could maybe expect down the road, or is this an exclusive agreement?
It's not an exclusive agreement. I'll tell you, we do work very closely with Trulieve, and I've enjoyed that partnership. It's bared fruit for both sides. So certainly that's something we would look to repeat when and where possible. That being said, and it's ironic you actually bring this up, we've had an incredible amount of inbound inquiry from several of the large MSOs.
Can you
I'll keep
hint
it under
who?
my hat. I'll keep it under my hat as far as, well, I'll tell you, it's multiples of them.
Interesting.
There,
Okay.
yeah, two or three in particular over the last, I'd say, 6 to 8 weeks. And in fact, our COO and GC, who handles a lot of these negotiations, that's John Boynan,
Yep.
is fielding calls, and he kind of hears the same message again and again and again. It's like, look, I know you're going to come here, so I can either compete against you or I can work with you to figure out how do we make something that's beneficial for both of us. And so we are having some of those conversations in various places. We looked at the same opportunity in California and ultimately ended up deciding to go with Natura, which keep your eye on those guys. They've got just something incredible happening in Sacramento that the world's going to find out about soon. So we're excited to get moving with them. And they're not your traditional MSO, obviously, because they're only in one state. That being said, we do talk to a lot of the other MSOs. Anytime we identify a new market, we're always looking for one of two things. First and foremost, what's my opportunity to drive profit and value for our shareholders? Now, that requires capital, infrastructure, leadership, a license, all these different things. And the reality is sometimes I can provide those things for myself, and sometimes we can't. That's the first decision point. The second decision point is, okay, if we're not able to do those things for ourselves, who's there? Who's going to give us the best opportunity at success? So we look for, again, infrastructure, capital, leadership, and more importantly, an alignment and vision. Are we both, is it simpatico of where we're trying to go with each other? And is there a cultural fit and alignment there? And the reality is sometimes that's an MSO, sometimes that's an independent, sometimes that's a small business that we can simply come in and change into something else. But we are absolutely having conversations, not only with other MSOs, but lots of people in lots of different markets all across the country.
I want to shift my attention to the day-to-day business operations. You pull your operations out of the state of California. Now you're selling product in that market again. So what are you doing differently this time?
Yeah, originally that was going to be a core market for us. People forget we've been in the California market with branded products since 2012. So
Yeah.
this it's not something new for us. I think the headwinds in California have been pretty well publicized. Really prolific black market, pretty entangled regulations that are complex, incredibly high taxation, and that's on top of all the fun that California represents. It's
Yep.
just tough to do business there. It's tough to live there. It's an expensive place to exist, basically.
Yeah, it
So
is.
when it was a core market for us, we were putting up great top line numbers. At one point, District Edibles was the number one gummy in the entire state, doing just incredibly, incredibly well, but not turning a profit. So it was
Mm,
becoming, I wouldn't say a money pit, but it was certainly becoming a situation where we were going to have to invest a really large amount of capital to give us the space and infrastructure that we needed. Or we needed to realize, hey, who else is around that maybe has already spent some of this capital that we could join forces with. So as we went through that process, we were able to identify a handful of groups that frankly had a big head start on us as far as what they were doing, either with the facility, how they had made the best of the tax, regime there,
yeah.
and it just became apparent to us that our money, our capital, was better spent somebody else. Let's activate our capital light business model, which means turning that into an emerging market. And so what we've done there is basically put ourselves in a position where profits a guarantee. We've still got to go out and
Right.
demonstrate,
Yep.
and the products have to move. But John again has put a contract in place, and we found a good cultural fit with our friends at Natura that allow for both sides to have a great expectation of driving profit. And when that's the case, great. I'd rather be somewhere and be profitable than have a much higher top line and not be. And so that's the case for us in California. So we're really, and you said products in market yet? Not yet. We're targeting Q1. We do
Okay.
still have product in
Yep.
market there that existed from before, but our new partnership really kind of goes into full speed with Natura, just here in a few weeks, really. So we're excited for that. And, California obviously is the largest state cannabis market in the
Mhm.
world. It's a market we've experienced a lot of top line success in before. Now we're really excited to pair that with the potential and the expectation of profit.
Good update. I did speak with a lot of shareholders over the last couple of days, and you have a big shareholder base that are very curious to know what kind of involvement Peter Miller will have going forward, along with Bruce Linton's association with the company. So, can you provide some clarity concerning that?
You bet. So, Peter's the executive chairman, of our board, still on the board. I'm on the board with him, of course.
Yep.
I talk to Peter almost every day. Peter is very graciously, when I came in and the new management team came in, what it really allowed for is everybody to kind of find the water to find its level, so to speak. I've long been the operational guy. Peter was long the capital markets guy. We were closing on these acquisitions. We're bringing them into our fold. So it's a high operational touch of what needs to happen to align, to integrate, and to grow these businesses. So we don't have a ton of M&A activity on the
Yeah.
horizon. So it just made sense that, hey, Driessen, let's get you into this role where you can be calling the shots from an operational perspective. Still get the wisdom and guidance of Peter being on the board.
Yep.
And as far as Bruce is concerned, he obviously has been a great counselor and mentor. He generally speaking, him and Peter basically have a standing call, and Billy Levy as well. And so they're talking about what are different ways to, how do we improve the business just from a capital markets perspective. And of course, we get the benefit of all that wisdom and advice. So I would tell you that both of those things are very much alive and well, and Slang is absolutely benefiting from both of those relationships.
Good to know. I want to last leave it off, and I started off the interview with this, is just the ongoing growth and just the excitement circulating around this industry, knowing obviously what's happened with the election of the past 30 days and potentially even a Democratic sweep with the Senate, taking place at the beginning of the 2021 year on January 5th. You look at some of these stimulus packages, stimulus bills, the MORE Act, potentially the Safe Banking Act, the 280E tax code. When you look at a lot of this stuff, and in the event that it does get processed, what are some of the specific things or one notable thing with your business model that shareholders can expect overnight on day one when these are passed?
Yeah, I mean, obviously depends on what form and version, and hopefully something happens, just something positive here. But you can look for a massive reduction in corporate tax. I think people that are really close to this industry understand that 280E is incredibly
Yep.
burdensome. It basically eats up all your profits. It just makes it tough, in addition to running a publicly traded business, which also comes with its own set of costs. So one of the things you can look forward to is an immediate reduction in that tax burden. Some of the things I think people
How much of a reduction, Chris, will we look at?
It depends on who you ask, but in some of our research has suggested that could be anywhere upwards of 25 to 40%, depending on what you're looking at. So yeah, huge, a big number, an absolute big number. And again, it depends on what version and what does it all finally look like. But the point being is nobody will tell you that 280E is a benefit. Nobody will tell you in cannabis that 280E isn't an absolute punch in the gut. So having something happen with that tax legislation would be a godsend, frankly. But I think the other things people don't realize, there's a lot of, whether it's banking, whether it's potential interstate commerce, there's a lot of things that most people who run a business probably take for granted. What your deductions are, how you're able to operate, how you're able to advertise, what are you able to say? And the reality is that cannabis businesses as a whole, particularly American cannabis businesses, are handicapped in a whole litany of ways. And we're still on the precipice of driving profit. Some of these guys are putting up amazing numbers. So the reason there's excitement is, man, as you remove some of these impediments, holy cow, what could some of these companies, Slang included, be, in a more normalized world?
$50 billion economic impact that this industry had here in 2020. So can you imagine if things start to materialize and open up even more? It's going to be a true revenue generator for the US going into 2021. So needless to say, exciting.
And what a time for that, right?
Isn't it?
Pandemic, state budgets are just in the toilet. Consumer confidence, spending, et cetera. There's just so many reasons for this that hopefully our brilliant minds over there in Washington, D.C. get that through their skull and get something done for us.
Indeed. You having fun doing this or what?
Oh, man, time of my life. Absolute time of my life. Never worked harder, but never had more fun doing it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, listen, let's keep in touch. Appreciate you connecting with us on this Thanksgiving weekend. And we'll talk to you soon, but congrats again on the recent developments with the share price and exciting times, to say the least, in the U.S. cannabis landscape.
You bet. Thank you very much, Chad. Appreciate the opportunity as always. Always good to talk to you.
You as well. Thanks, Chris.